Welcome back. We've headed over to Madame Tusspell's, a famous waxwork in London, apparently, and we found ourselves talking to this waxwork of, Mr. Herlock Sholmes here. Let's have a word with him. Madame Tusspell's. What is this place? Madame Tusspell's came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxworks models is a particular secret of the Tusspell's family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. That sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned. Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions. Really turns my stomach. That's just one of several legends about the Tusspell's family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is the House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course! Visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they've even stiffer now than the models of them. Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So, the hideous exhibits in here are... They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? Alright, temporary waxwork. What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them. Every half an hour, I home in on a different killer in one of the displays to adopt a new pose to ensnare him. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money. He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, as I have the ravenous iris to consider. Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry. If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruhodo. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruhodo, ignore me at your peril. He's back. Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did his final remark there sound a lot like a curse? Something to ask you. Yep. Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zykes. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled Mr. Shlom's in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zykes, about Professor Hairbrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at university together. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zykes such a different person. I was sure that you'd know, Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before. That something was afoot. And that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Shlom's? He's suddenly clamped up. Well. Oh, greetings. Hello. Oh, hello. Where did she appear from? What was he gonna say? What was it? Well, it seems we've reached the unavoidable. Ooh. Unavoidable? But yeah, where did she appear from? Was it the arm? And what's she wearing? Could she look any more mysterious? I hope you are appreciating my museum. Ah, Tusspell. Sorry, have we, Mr. Shlom's, do you know this? Not again. My apologies. I am Esmeralda Tusspell. This is my museum of waxworks. What? You're the Madame Tusspell? Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madam in name only, adds a certain je ne sais quoi. I don't know what that means. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather one waxwork in particular. That'll be Mr. Shlom's then. I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble. Died. She sounds deadly serious. That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Shlom's about Lord Van Zykes now? Let's not forget what Hurley said before. About something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean. Yes, I know, but... I'm so curious. I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Well, let's converse with Tusspell, the Waxworks. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tusspell? I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisan, you know. Gosh. It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. Though that it is when she acquired the savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing lifelikeliness. Yep. All these waxworks really do look as though they're alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people of which they are modelled, in the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness. That sounds terrifying. All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? Do not fear. Sorry? This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians, something for every taste, I hope. It was Iris who dragged me straight in here. Come to think of it, yes, this is where Hurley is. Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things. Yeah, the great detective Waxwork. What's the situation with, that? Ah, my temporary Waxwork model. He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal. Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear madam, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective. Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective. It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it. Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms. Let me guess, someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services. For a mere £500, I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. Or words to that effect. Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch. Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances. So we came to the current arrangement instead. Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he? I would think not, but he was very insistent. I have a 50-shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning. All words to that effect, yeah. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem. Is the consulting detective work not going so well? Something afoot. I wonder, could I ask you something? Bien sûr. I'm just curious. Is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? Whoever suggested such a thing to you? Oh, well, it was, he's gone. Your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it to me a little... Oh, he's disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. There you are. Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working. Do you wish to be melted down? My dear Madame Tusspell, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police. Why? Why ever not? She turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though, please beware that I prefer... No, I insist upon payment in advance. Very well. He's clever, this one. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Before I engage my analytical process, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain? That is the Tusspell special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it. Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder? Absolument. No. Absolutely not, but in French. There is nothing amiss behind there. Nothing amiss, madam. Say a bloody arm. What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond before the situation worsens. Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a soupçon? Little bit. I'm terrible with French. Terrible with English, but you know. 139. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tusspell special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, hello, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. Well, then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself? I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman, not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first, here we go, is that sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit. Why would you say that? And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. Why? She looks as pale as a candle wax. I don't understand. So, Madame Tusspells, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Here we go. The game is afoot. Waxworks. Fate. Which one? To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tusspells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by the public notice. Waxwork for sale. Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer the centerpiece of your special exhibit for the sum of £200. No. Now let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. What? It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of £200. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extortionate amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result? Scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Methinks not. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. Sold for cash. Waxwork Location. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider the problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Yep. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we only need to observe the neckerchief. Such as is worn by policemen as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards. But next, we turn our attention to the old man set before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching him closely and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact as if he were a waxwork. But you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Threepence. A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with cracks is the price of his scarf. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant £200. The sort of plucky behaviour that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. What the bloody hell are you on about? Discovered already! No. Thus concludes Herlock Sholme's great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. I don't think you're right, mate. Oh, she's ready. I see, I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you're obviously upset, this young lady, in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Shlomes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So, that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer? Wouldn't it? The killer policeman automobile. Sorry? There's a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, senior officer by the name of Automole. So you mean that's who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed. It is a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is £200 a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things in perspective. So, it is quite a lot then. Uh-oh. Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down? That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Schlomes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so... I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris. If that's alright. To make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions. Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tusspell vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tusspell, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Yep, here we go. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Schlomes. Alright, what we got? To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200. That is my own money? So what does this large sum of money reveal? Not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tusspell. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. Not there. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice? She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her wax works, even for £200. Oh. She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. With that much money, I would. It sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the £200 could have some other significance. Let's follow the furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. Alright, so... that'll be at the note on the wall. What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tusspell, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is £200. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd of October. What? This is just like some sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly. It's like, yeah, it's the ransom note, yeah.
Take that!
Boom. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate the criminals on their inventiveness. Abducting a waxwork. £200 is no small ransom fee, yet you certainly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. In summary then, the £200 you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. No. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? Just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Eddie's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down. Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tusspell's trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. What have we got around? Oh, long hair braid. But dealt the man such a shocking blow was of course the two. Did she swing round and like her head swung her hair around and it smacked him and knocked him out?
Take that!
Give it a go. Madame Tusspell's hair is very neatly braided, creating an effective whip that she used to beat the man to the ground. Oh no. Oh yes, I can picture the scene quite clearly. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I'm afraid your imagination is overactive. Well yes, perhaps I was clutching at straws a little. I, on the other hand, can picture the scene of your spiked hair running the man through quite clearly. And you say my imagination is overactive. Alright, so what else we got? It must have been a considerable blow to have knocked the man unconscious. Yes, he looks like a very sturdy man, doesn't he? Oh, perhaps he was struck on the back of the head with something hard. Don't sound so excited about it, Iris. Whatever did leave the man out cold like that must have been quite something. Right, so let's look for something important here. I don't see anything. Like, her hair, obviously, you know. Unless we investigate the hair and then get more information from that. What was that? The £200. Like, no. Let's investigate the hair, though. That's not investigate. Wait, can I not? No. Madame Tusspell's very long hair. Has very long hair, doesn't she? Yes, but you couldn't tell looking at her from the front. You know, it looks rather like a whip, don't you think? The sort of whip that could have floored the gentleman with a single crack. That seems a little far-fetched, even for you, Runo. Yeah, I'd never suggest something like that. Ah, there we are. Keep pressing that one, that. This is just Madame Tusspell's right hand, isn't it? That's a waxwork, isn't it? Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is her left hand as well, look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And seem very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean it's made of wax? There we go. Let's have at it.
Take that!
What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you? The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that in fact it's a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Hello. Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsakes. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms. Afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. Understandable. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result, the scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, But for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. Solved. Alright, this has not been discovered already. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider the problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe the neckerchief. Right, so what according to Mr. Shlomes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard. But Mr. Shlomes didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tusspell's reaction to Mr. Shlomes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Alright, what we got then? Ah. His arm's off. Just present it, just present it. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we'd only observe his shoulder stub. Not such boneless human walks this earth. Of that, I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds. A waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Shlomes. He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally! What other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Yeah, he's just asleep. He's just an old man. But you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! Telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year. But I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garridub's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? This waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200? Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really? Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up. Alright, what else we got? What was that? What was that? Ah, the scarf. I mean, his knee's going. Telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitching of the knee. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. Seems to be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean... Must be a twitch. Never mind that. The point is waxworks don't tap their feet. Well... Or twitch. And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Let's go for the twitch.
Take that!
The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tusspells. Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you have observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because as you know, there has been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. The model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Herlock Sholme's great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Right. Still a mystery. Solved, apparently. Elementary. All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men, women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Kai. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I have no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display. It was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically, it was. Then I would ask you to recount the events surrounding the stolen waxwork in as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. Or get melted down. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Alright, so we'll finally end this part here, and the next part we'll have a word with her. So we'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.